What's up, everybody, and welcome to ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news. I'm Drew Bosley, and of course, that's Scott Savage. Scott, what's going on, buddy?
That's right. Oh, I can finally talk about one of my favorite games now. I'm going to try again not to, but let's just say there's a review dropping today, and I'm very happy about it.
In an hour's time, make sure you check out InsideTheGame.ca or our YouTube channel, where you can also be joining us live right now at 11 a.m. Eastern over on youtube.com/InsideTheGameOfficial, or as well as twitch.tv/theofficial ITG. But if you can't join us live, make sure you hit us up later in those podcast services. Thanks to our friends over at Fired Up Network. You can find us over there. 212 platforms, actually, as well as our TV streaming partners as well. Roku, Amazon Prime, Samsung Plus, Rogers TV, the list goes on. But Scott, today's show
Might be easier to list what we're not on now at this point. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, we definitely have a library of platforms. That's for sure. Dude, the future seems to be up in the air for many studios and others under the Embracer company as they enter a restructuring program. Overwatch 2 wants you to pay for its story. Oh, come on. And Outriders developer partners with Xbox for the next big AAA title. Yeah, let's go. People can fly. I'm so pumped for them, dude. So happy. Now let's get into it.
I'm very happy for them. They seem to be on a nice winning streak here.
Absolutely. We'll get there in a second. But first, let's talk about some unfortunate news. As Embracer Group announces a restructuring program, studio closures are expected, Scott. It's too early to give an exact forecast on the number of layoffs, says their CEO. Marie D'Alessandri over at GamesIndustry.biz had this as she covered. Embracer has announced a restructuring program, which will lead to studio closures. The comprehensive program, CEO Lars Wingsforce, said it is to better optimize the use of Embracer's resources, end quote. As part of the restructuring, the company intends to take operational and financial measures to increase cash conversion, improve efficiency, and reduce capex in order to reach a financial net debt under SEK 10 billion, roughly, which is roughly about $1 billion. By the end,
that is incredible amount of money still.
Yeah, well, we'll get to it here in a second. I want to finish off Marie's article here. But yeah, this will go by the end of 2024. Embracer also plans to reduce overhead costs by at least 10%, which is about $75 million per year. While the company didn't provide further details on that aspect, it did say that its restructuring action will include the closing of studios and termination of projects that have not been announced and with low budget or project returns. In an open letter, Wingsforce said, quote, Embracer currently engages close to 17,000 people. And while the number will be lower by the end of the year, it is too early to give an exact forecast on this. The company will reduce investment to external development to focus on internal development based on owned or controlled IP, while also Lord of the Rings kind of comes to mind with Gollum right there, Scott. While also seeing, quote, increased external funding of internally developed large budget games. Dude, this goes on and on and on. And this is not surprising. I'll be honest. I am not really that shocked to see this. I feel horrible for the studios who got gobbled up in the Embracer Group purchasing spree that they went on. They went on IP binge. They went on studios. Like Embracer Group has been buying in a buying spree for a few years now. Its most recent meaningful acquisition included Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal, acquired for $300 million in May 2022, before closing down Square Enix Montreal studio and QA team in November of the same year.
Yeah, that was the first sign of trouble.
Right? They also own IPs such as The Lord of the Rings. They own studios like Tripwire, Limited Run, and more for almost $600 million last year in August. Scott, buy. Something's got to give. And I know this after kind of keeping up on what's going on with Embracer Group, that they missed a funding lot. There was supposed to be a big financial backing. That deal fell through, and this is where we're starting to see some of this happen because they're like, we didn't get our money. We now need to figure this out, and what are we going to do? Unfortunately, this goes back on the studios and the other teams that are involved in this gobbling up process of purchasing. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not going to be upper management that's thinned out. That's very rare that ever happens in in a restructure. And you do have to look at it from Embracer's standpoint. They have to restructure now. Whether it was through good choices or bad choices, they're stuck in a predicament now. Yeah. But that will unfortunately harm a lot of people's income, a lot of people's livelihood. And that's something that we were worried about. And I hate to mention it, but how does it feel, do you think, to work for Embracer Group now?
It's not a good thing, right? When we talked about them, what are they doing with all these IPs? What are they doing with all these studios? And this is where it leads to. This is horrible. This is horrible for all these teams.
Do you think it was posing with these IPs? Hey, you want to work on Tomb Raider? Come with us. Come invest in our company. We'll turn out a Tomb Raider. It was kind of like an idea capturing outside investment, I think. And it seems like that's kind of what they're doing now. They're going to scale back how much money they put out to invest and now are absorbing most investments. But given the confidence in this company, I don't foresee a whole lot of investment coming in.
Not at all. No, I don't. Right at this rate
Xbox is more likely to buy the IPs off them.
Well, I think they have a better opportunity to do that if they're looking to sell more studios. Look to the bigger teams that are looking to kind of purchase right now, right? Xbox obviously
PlayStation was looking
still in this buying spree of trying to get Activision deal taken care of, but I don't think that's really going to happen. At the end of the day, I think they have so many walls to go over and hurdles, things that they're trying to. They just keep getting knocked. Like it's one step forward and like two steps backward for Xbox right now when it comes to this whole acquisition with Activision Blizzard. Maybe this is an opportunity that they can come in and save the Tomb Raider franchise and say, hey, we'll buy you up. We'll buy Crystal Dynamics. Maybe they can make the next Avengers game because that didn't do so well. And then they went over. This is the thing. Like the people that they were buying was an interesting purchase. I got some of the IPs coming out of Square Enix were fantastic to get, right? But then what are you doing with them? Crystal Dynamics is working on a next Tomb Raider game. I was expected to see another Tomb Raider game. Will we see that? Man, there's so many questions right now. I don't know if we'll see another Tomb Raider game just due to what Embracer is taking care of right now. 17,000 people, Scott. everybody right now a
Oh,
little nervous whether or not they're gonna have a job tomorrow. It's terrifying.
well, and after all these restructuring, and even if they do retain the IPs, how capable are they of producing games, solid AAA games under that IP, given what we've seen with Gollum?
Well, that's yeah, right. They gave that property, that IP, over to Daedalus to make them a game under the Lord of the Rings franchise. And I heard somebody say, I can't remember word for word, but it was a disgusting sentence to say that we need to leverage this and they basically shutter everything else because Lord of the Rings is such a big IP that
Oh,
they figure they can make a ton of money on it. I'm like, well, can you though? Like, I think Lord of the Rings had a time and a place, but we're not going to get like another Shadow of Mordor experience. I don't think
I was
when it
just gonna
comes to
say
that,
that. I
right?
think that's the last time Lord of the Rings came and passed was with Shadow of Mordor,
That was
and
years
I'm not
ago.
sure Shadow of War really
It
did
didn't hit the
much
same.
help to that IP either.
No, right? It really didn't. And then we get Gollum, which is one of the worst games this year of all time. Your Lord of the Rings IP right
Oh,
now is not looking very profitable. Like, that's just
no.
where that's coming from, right? And it's
The
just
next
unfortunate.
the next Lord of the Rings game is not going to sell nearly as well because of Gollum. Now, I have to
Yeah,
point out
yeah.
if they do make the Two Towers, the Return of the King, they remake those games from the 2000s era, that is a free license to print money. So that might be something we see in the future.
Is it worth remaking some of these games, or is it better off to make a new IP, bring in a new era of Lord of the Rings fans? Lord of the Rings is old, man, and sometimes people don't go back because it is so old.
That's
Old is
fair.
old sometimes, right?
I look at those old movie connected games and I think of them very heavy nostalgia with me.
Yeah,
In the early 2000s, that was the right time for me to play those games.
sure.
Maybe I do recall them rose tinted glasses, perhaps.
Well, that's just it. But you mentioned Lord of the Rings to my kids, they're like, "What's that?" So that's the
Oh,
IP they're playing with. Honestly, dude, that's what they're playing with. You bought an IP that's old, that you have a following of nostalgic fans, and then you're trying to introduce this to the new wave, the kids that are on TikTok and all this stuff. That's not going to happen. They don't care about Lord of the Rings. They don't care about them at all. And
I was gonna
like,
say,
man,
I
I don't
was
know.
thinking, well, Zelda has persisted up through the generations, but then again, that is probably exactly my generation has also aged through the ages, and
No,
we keep
man.
supporting Zelda coming back.
Well, Scott, I want to hear if you're going to be supporting this one because Blizzard confirms Overwatch Story 2 missions will set you back $15. Michael Hardens over PSU. Blizzard Entertainment has announced that its story missions for Overwatch 2 will retail for $15, when the first 3 missions being released as part of the game's latest season. However, gain access to said content, you'll have to fork out $15 for the Overwatch 2 Invasion bundle. In doing so, you'll get your hands on the story missions, as well as 1,000 Overwatch coins, new legendary skins, permanent access to characters as playable heroes, this, that, and the other. Scott, we gotta pay for the single player experience now? Like, is this what we're going with Overwatch?
Yeah, that's not something that sits very well with me. That perhaps if Overwatch was in a different state since its launch, I'd be a little more susceptible to that. But
Yeah.
this is really one issue in a long line of troubles that have really held up the intake, the uptake, I should say, of people playing this game. I don't think this is going to inspire much of a return.
No, I think that's the biggest thing. We've wanted story content for so long. I wasn't anticipating to pay $15. Now,
No,
granted, if it's good, it's probably worth the $15. I get you have to recoup your money somehow. Maybe this is the one way to do it. I don't know. Is there a better way to do this? Maybe they're not selling enough skins or enough battle passes, Scott, for Overwatch 2 to justify them coming out with single player content. If it's solid, like, just, man, I don't know. I'm a little shocked by this move. Really. I'm
hmm
shocked by it all. And will it land with the community? Is there the backlash that we're feeling right now from it, going, I don't know, I don't think this is a good move at all. This Overwatch 2 has had one of the worst starts in a long time that I didn't anticipate when he came off of Overwatch 1 and how well that was received.
Yeah, Overwatch 1 was really a trendsetter at the
Yeah.
time and really just blew up to massive heights. It's really just a shame that they shut it down in favor of Overwatch 2. It I understand things have to move on, they have to grow, they have to
Yep.
develop. I wish it could have ran simultaneously, just keep
No.
Overwatch 1 alive
They're
because
not
that
going to do
game
that.
stands on its own laurels.
It does, but they don't want to do that because they want everybody to move on, right? Like, just like you said, you need to move on to the next IP. You need to move on to the next generation of that game, bring it up to the current standards of where we are with our current hardware, and then push the boundaries. That's we talked about it yesterday, how they were working on Titanfall 3 being Respawn, and then decided, no, this isn't enough because there wasn't enough of a step forward to bring Titanfall 3. Instead, we get Apex. Well, to me, I think the roadmap was there for Overwatch 2, but it doesn't feel like enough. Dude, I jumped into Overwatch 2 and just felt like more Overwatch. So I was kind of like, wow, this isn't really all that different.
That's why I missed the first one.
Yeah.
It's because it felt almost the same, but I like the old maps better. I'm not sure what the difference is. The balancing. Mei was actually a playable character.
Yeah. So another weird step by Blizzard when it comes to Overwatch. Overwatch 2, well, yeah, launched back in October, and I think it's been all over the place. Rocky feedback, rocky start, a rocky road for Overwatch 2. But we'll see if they're able to pull this around. I am curious because that's really what I wanted, was some story content based on these characters, and they had some of the coolest cinematic intros to the game for these characters to kind of get you introduced to them and their lore and the backstory behind them. But man, I don't know.
I really think it's up to management at this point. If this had launched with these story missions day one, you could have easily requested $15, $30.
Yeah,
could have made it a full price game. But
sure,
the way it went out, free to play, and then add stuff later on,
piecemeal.
Let's all learn from Overwatch and Halo on how not to do that.
Oh man, Halo, rest in peace to that IP right now. That's unfortunate. Dude, let's get into some good news, though, because I'm tired of being sour. Microsoft and Outriders developer People Can Fly signed an agreement for a new Xbox game. Samuel over at Windows Central. Here's what you need to know. People Can Fly is a collection of studios responsible for working on a number of such games as Gears of War, Judgment, and Outriders, and a few others in there. That's probably the main staples, though, right there. According to new financial documents shared by People Can Fly, the developers are partnering with Microsoft to develop a new game codenamed Project Maverick. The game will have an estimated budget, Scott, you ready? $30 to $50 million. But little else is known on the game. It's extremely early days, but it looks like a new Xbox exclusive game is entering development. People Can Fly, the team behind such games as Gears of War, Judgment, and Outriders. Dude, I loved Outriders. I know a lot of people were a little mixed on it. I had so much fun playing Outriders, going back and just doing even the latest DLC where you got into this bit of a horde mode and the roguelike element kind of thing. Man, I was there by myself, though, and it hurt.
I wanted to get into it. Yeah, for some reason it just didn't grab me, and I think I had missed you and Kyle playing it originally, so I skipped over. But I know that game is, I think it's made People Can Fly one of your favorite new kind of studios, developers.
Absolutely. I was so pumped. I was able to be fortunate enough to talk with the dev team and stuff. He's so sour all the time, though. Kyle says, Kyle, get out of here. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to actually talk to the dev team over at People Can Fly and discuss kind of behind the scenes and how they came about with Outriders and some of the things and systems they were working on. And I asked them straight up, are we going to get an Outriders 2? And they said, as much as they'd like to, it's not really up to them. I was like, well, what if I say it's up to me? Can you make another one? Because I'd love it. Outriders 2.
There's a fan outpouring of support for number 2.
Yeah, I think it's one of those kind of like a cult
true beyond
following, right? Yeah, man. I loved it. I really did. I had so much fun playing it. Microsoft to develop a new game based on work for hire contract. The game code name Project Maverick is based on an intellectual property rights owned by the publisher and will be developed with a budget of $30 to $50 million. A little else is known in the game. People Can Fly has expanded significantly in the last couple of years, growing with multiple studios around the world, with 7 games currently in development across 600 staff. It's not 17,000, but it's 600. And that's, man, that's a lot to talk about right there. It's a lot of people. Yeah. 7 games, though, Scott. I'm hoping they don't bite off more than they can chew.
Yeah, really. I didn't know People Can Fly was the collective in general. I didn't realize it was more than just 1 or 2 studios.
Yeah.
But 600 people is no small number.
No.
I'm wondering, $30 to $50 million as a budget. I'm not so familiar with budgets. What does that line up with, do you think? Because a Battlefield game I would expect to hit 100 million. I don't know if that's fair or not.
Sure.
But
Yeah, I don't. So I'd say if I had to guess, no, I'm not a developer and I don't know how the financials work within this industry like this in this format, right? But Outriders, am I wrong in thinking 20 million? Like, is something along that line? But I don't know. Kyle said he liked Outriders, but other games got in the way. And I think it was one of those. Yeah,
That's fair.
He got overshadowed,
That's
right?
sort of...
I think that's really what it come down to. Had a lot of fun. I know a lot of people didn't really care for the story. I thought the story was cool, and then they can iterate and move forward. It was kind of, I was hoping for that Assassin's Creed 1 to Assassin's Creed 2 functionality, where the big leap, right? And maybe we get that one day. I don't know, but it sounds like they're actually just moving on to something else. Whether or not we get over Outriders 2 just kind of leaves my hopes and dreams in limbo for now. But
well, something else from them might be just as good. We'll have to wait and see.
well, yeah, it's exciting to hear them partner with Xbox too, right? So everybody will be getting on Game Pass and things like that. So that's exciting to see. Scott, let's get into the next one as we're jumping into Metroid Prime 4. It's been 6 years since it was announced. It's been, man, almost feels like forever, Scott. The company made the surprise announcement during an E3. That's how long ago it was. Nintendo Direct presentation on June 13th, 2017. All of that was revealed was a 43-second animation showing outer space and a 4 symbol appearing, along with a message reading Metroid Prime 4, now in development for Nintendo Switch. Scott, do we get this on the Switch, or we get this on the Switch 2, Super Switch, whatever we get the next version of?
I think this will be like one of the last releases, the last mainline releases on the Switch, if I had to guess. That's just off the top of my head. But this is also a maneuver that Xbox took to very well, just flashing a splash screen up and then letting you stew on it for several years. So I hope that we'll get some sort of a check-in with this. I would love to see what they're working on. But then again, the technology limitations of the Switch, how intense is it going to be? Is it going to be like Metroid Prime's Federation Force? And nobody wants that.
No. Yeah, absolutely not. It's interesting to me that things get announced so long ago. Matt Booty just made a comment the other day. Games now for the AAA budget take 4 to 6 years minimum.
Yeah.
Right? When you take a look at Starfield, it's been in development for 8 years. So we're getting into some of these titles that are bigger, bigger, bigger. And as you always want to push, especially we're getting into 4 for Metroid Prime, they want to step it up to that next level.
I think that's what...
Go ahead.
I think that's what stopped Metroid Prime 3 from continuing on further back in the day. The Wii U just really wasn't anything to write home about, so it did not receive the Metroid games that it should have. I think we got Other M, it was not good. It was not the same.
What if Metroid Prime 4 is the launch title for the next Switch?
Oh, that would be the hype maneuver. That would be the right decision in my opinion. But that's the way to go. I'm again rose-tinted glasses. Metroid Prime is still one of those excellent games in my mind, and the remaster that we saw was beautiful, amazing, almost a 1-to-1 perfect recreation. And I would like to see them even just do 2 and 3 that way.
Scott, speaking of excellent games, let's get into PlayStation Plus new games for the month, because they got some bangers coming out. My, oh my, dude, they have some fantastic games in this lineup for PlayStation Plus. Get ready, because Far Cry 6 on PS4, PS5 is coming around. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge is there, PS4, PS5.
Oh, I love that one.
Oh, so good, so good. Rogue Legacy 2 for PS4, PS5 is going to be there as well. We're getting into Inscription, PS4, PS5. You ever play that one? I hear it's really good. I didn't play it.
Is that a horror game? Because I'm somewhat... I think I have the title in my mind.
I don't really know. I just knew I didn't have time to play it. Solstice, dude, looks cool. This one looks cool.
I liked that one.
Man, I want to play it. Tacoma on PS4 is going to be there. Super cool game. I played that back in the day. That one's kind of old, but it's still one of those good ones to get there. Deus Ex,
I did.
Mankind Divided. Oh, yo, bring it back. Bring back Deus Ex, please. We could use a new one. We are long overdue for that.
Our world is getting scarily similar to Adam Jensen's. So,
Killing Floor 2 is going to be there, and they're coming out with the trial for WWE 2K23. PS4 will be available until June 20th if you want to jump into that game trial. Plus, there's a whole other slew of things going on June 20th to June 30th. There will be a number of activities for both PlayStation Plus members and non members to participate in, such as free avatars and wallpaper illustration for your PlayStation Plus members, PlayStation Star campaign, speed runs, all kinds of things. You can enter to win a PS5 and a PSVR 2. Cool, man.
I had forgot about PlayStation Stars.
Yeah. Well, so did a lot of other people. But
dude, well, that's unfortunate.
There's a couple games out today. What do we have, Scott?
I want PlayStation Home to come back. I think there's a real market for it now, if it's introduced properly. But in any case,
go away.
We have some full game releases today. That is Crime Boss, Rocky City. That is on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S. Jack Gene is on the Nintendo Switch. And Layers of Fear 2023 has now released on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series XS, and PC.
There you go. Scott, just like that, my friend, we're almost timed out for today's episode. Again, I always like to talk about what we're playing at the end of the day. We've jumped back into an old title, Scott. I can't believe we made it, but we're finally back into the world of GTA to do some heists and having a ton of fun. It's been challenging, to say the least. I forgot how tough some of these things were. Man, I'm having a good time. It feels good to be back into GTA, but I really just want the next one. What about you?
Yeah, I feel the same way. We're all kind of going through a crash course of how do I control this again? How do I fly the helicopter? Says Steve, and
yeah,
I'm the resident pilot here, so I didn't forget. But I want to see this come forward into GTA 6 online. How big can that get? Are we running bigger crews, bigger heists? I hope everything just bigger.
Heists have to come back, you would think, for GTA 6, right?
They must.
Do you think they're gonna get bigger, like as a bigger crew? Can you run 6? Or do they shrink it to 3 people?
No,
I'm just saying. It's the Rise of Apex, man. Everything went to 3.
That's funny.
Just maybe time will tell about that one, but definitely looking forward to GTA 6.
Well, there were 3 in the original GTA 5, so
there was absolutely there. Yeah. So maybe that's the way they go, but they are dropping it to 2 people this time. But
maybe a couple crews get together and we do raids that way. I don't know. Raids. There's possibilities.
Oh man. Oh, the opportunities, Scott. So many opportunities. What a title. But until then, man, we'll talk about it all throughout the day, of course. But we'll be back tomorrow. I'm Drew. That's Scott. We'll see you inside the game.